Hello all, this is my short video where I'm going to talk about essay number 2, what you should be working on for this paper, what you should avoid, so on and so forth. This is going to be a part 1. I'm going to have a part 2 where I show you a sample and show you some things that they're doing well and some things that they're not doing so well, that kind of thing. Now, I'll be honest, I don't have a really great sample for this paper because I've been tweaking this paper design over the last few semesters, so what I did last semester with my students was very similar, but also had some significant changes. And I'll talk about that in my next video. But let's talk about the instructions for essay number 2. So there's a timetable. Please check that out. It's got the dates and how much each thing is worth. Yours might look slightly different. I have multiple sections doing this paper. So let's take a look through. Let's start with the overview. So this paper will require you to combine many of the ideas we have covered during the first 3 quarters of the course. This paper will also require you to conduct your own research. Finally, for this paper, we'll use a model of inquiry called stasis theory. So there's a lot of moving parts here. Sounds scary. Stasis theory is just a structure that we will cover in class or online, depending on which section you're in. So you'll get an introduction to that, and I'll walk you through that structure down here. But basically, it's just what I'm using is based on. It's not I'm not literally translating, but it's based on an ancient Greek model of legal decision making, and we'll talk about this more as we go forward. But the second paper will focus on conspiracy theories. That is our kind of case study for this section of English 1B. Specifically, you're going to investigate a conspiracy theory and debunk it. Let me stress that. You are debunking the conspiracy theory. You are not supporting the conspiracy theory. I had that happen a couple times last semester where people wrote a very passionate defense of their belief that Princess Diana had been murdered by the royal family. And that's not the point of this paper. The point is that we are debunking. And so, a couple things. Your conspiracy theory should focus on something like a recent conspiracy theory. And a good reason for this is you're going to have to find a discourse community that still believes in this conspiracy theory. So you can do flat Earth. That's totally fine. That's still a conspiracy theory that people believe in, but maybe not Freemasonry as much. Anyways, so you're right from the perspective of a debunker, right? You're starting from the idea that this idea is false, and you're analyzing and developing strategies to convince other people not to believe it. Okay? And you're going to follow the structure below, right? And use the research sources that I outlined. Okay, so here's the process step by step. 1, choose a conspiracy theory, right? And you will share this on Harmonize, do some brainstorming. You can choose one and then change your mind, but it is useful to decide pretty early what you want to work on. You're going to find a specific discourse community that believes in this conspiracy theory. So you're going to want to find something online that's going to be what you're going to want to focus on. Don't try to find people in real life. You're going to find an online discourse community. Reddit is good. Some of these places, like the Flat Earth, people have their own website. Maybe a Stop the Steal Facebook group, right? These are all great places to look for a discourse community that traffics in conspiracy theories and is focused on your specific conspiracy theory. You're going to fill out the stasis theory pre-writing form, which sounds scary, but it's just a proposal for your paper, just brainstorming proposal. Do some research, complete and submit your outline, so a more robust and thought out idea about what your paper will look like. Then you'll write your rough draft, share and discuss your rough draft, do some peer editing, and then turn it in. Okay, so that's the process. Here's the skills that we'll be working on. We're using this really interesting, useful model of inquiry and writing called stasis theory. You are utilizing the skills and the ideas we've been working on in the course to debunk conspiracy theories and analyzing a real world issue using concepts and theories from the course in your own research. Here's the structure. This paper will be at least 9 paragraphs long. I always tell students I'm more interested in paragraph length than pages. This would probably be about 6 pages, I guess, but paragraphs is more important to think about, because that's the moves that you're making in your writing, I would argue. So stasis theory, we'll cover this in more depth, has 5 sections. So you start by outlining the facts. And for us, that means you're going to describe your conspiracy theory. So let's say you want to do flat Earth. A paragraph or 2 describing the basic history of the flat Earth theory, right? How long it's been going on, right? Establishing that this is a theory people believe in. So you're required to find a conspiracy theory that focuses on something that actually happened in the world. So a real life conspiracy theory. It's pretty self-explanatory. This is kind of like a summary beginning. You're just setting up the facts so you can do your analysis. Your second section, you're going to provide more details about your discourse community that you found. You can be very specific. How does your discourse community fit those 6 categories that Swalls outlines? So as I know here, Reddit's a great place to start, Facebook, right? So you want to think about who's involved, why they're believing in this, what is the nature of the issue, why there is this group, how it operates. So basically you're focusing on your discourse community for this section. You're getting more specific, right? You've outlined the basics. You're getting more specific. Here's a specific group that believes in this, right? And here's the cause section. So in this section, you'll provide more details about why it continues, why your discourse community continues to focus on this specific conspiracy theory. I want you to spend a whole paragraph analyzing a specific kind of meme or source, information source this discourse community uses. I'll have to edit that. You know, do they use memes to spread their ideas? Do they share articles? Do they what do they value as information? Is basically what I want you to get at here. I want you to spend a paragraph thinking about that, analyzing. So this is kind of similar to what you do with the rhetorical précis. Just do a paragraph long analysis of how they use information, focusing on one specific piece of information you see them sharing, a meme, an article, a link to another website, something like that that helps you understand how this discourse community uses and values information. In rhetoric, as I know here, what are they convinced by, right? This should be about 2 or 3 paragraphs. So this is getting into the nuts and bolts of how your discourse community operates and you know, what they believe and why. So again, why does it continue? Why do people still traffic in this? What value are they getting out of it? What kind of group bond or group identity are they forming? So there's also a good idea. You could use sources from Unit 3 of the course. This would be a great place to use some of that stuff about, you know, the psychology of conspiracy theories, the profit motivation, like who's profiting, who's spreading this information, right? And so this is maybe the beating heart of the paper. Then you want to get into quality. So in this section, you make an argument about the severity of the problem. What happens if we don't believe people from believing your conspiracy theory? What happens if we do? Right? So you're going to want to think about, like, what are the end results of people believing in this? So for example, if you were to focus on the Stop the Steal conspiracy theory, you could argue that, you know, the spreading of this misinformation, this disinformation is leading to an erosion of people's faith in elections. And you could go and expand on that, spend a couple paragraphs thinking about what that would mean for society, right? And so that will help you argue why we should do something. Then the last section, they call the action jurisdiction section. So 2 paragraphs, you will suggest a plan of action. 1 paragraph on that. What should we do? Be specific, stay focused on your discourse community. This is why it's super important to find a community and really focus on that. You can't be expected to solve all of a conspiracy theory, like convince every flat earther that the earth is actually round. But what do you do with that specific community? Is there something you could do? What's one specific thing you could do? And who should do this? That's the jurisdiction idea. Who should be responsible? When should it happen? Right? This is getting us very specific into what should happen and why and when. Okay? So that's the basic structure. We'll be working on this as we go forward. I know that seems like a lot, but it's really a useful way for thinking through problems, called the stasis model, right? You're setting up basic ideas, getting more specific, thinking about causes, thinking about the severity of the problem, what will happen if nothing's done, what will happen if something's done, what should be done, right? So you can see how it's a very regimented way of thinking through a problem. Research requirements: you must use at least 1 source per body paragraph. You can use stuff from what we've done in class. You can definitely use all that stuff that we've been working in class, you know, psychology of conspiracy theories, who's profiting from these things. Those are all great sources you could use. You do need a works cited page. You're going to have to do some research. You definitely have to do some research of your own into the conspiracy theory, into the discourse community. And so there will be probably a mix of research based on stuff you find and stuff you use from the class. But you could do all your own research. You don't have to use stuff from the class, but feel free to. You'll turn this in not February 5th. Look for the due date on Canvas. And there's some tips there too. And remember, you get a bonus mark if you take this paper to work with a tutor at the Success Center. So anyways, that's a longish short explanation of the paper. This is part 1. In part 2, I will go through a sample and offer some specific ideas. But this should get you started. Thank you very much.